Okay, this is all really remarkable. You said somebody cut a deal for him somewhere along the line. Where do you think it might have happened? Now, his mother was there, and I think you saw her maybe one time, just very briefly. You never engaged her.
He didn't have any supervision. Neither did any of us, really. So, to be fair, I didn't really see parents of everybody.
Any of your friends to speak of.
Yeah, because in the 70s, we just kind of ran wild. It was just that time where, the end part of the age of innocence or something where the parents thought, they could just cut us loose and we'd be all right.
Right.
But, and I'm going to say that I think I saw her, but I never really heard anything. It seemed to me like he had no parental engagement. Like he was doing his own thing.
I think that's pretty obvious from what you've been telling us. There really couldn't have been. The grandmother.
I know his apartment building he lived in, but I didn't have any interaction with the grandparents, and I don't recall ever seeing them.
She was an investment banker, I understand. Very talented woman. She knew the whole story. Now, when he went out to visit her, right before she died, there were two stories.
About the maternal grandmother?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There were two stories about the maternal grandmother. One that she had cancer, another one that she had fallen and broken her hip, and that's why she was pretty much out of sight. He visited her at a time right before one of his big early victories, and she died very conveniently. I'm not saying that he was involved with that, but he did go out there, and she did die conveniently and never stepped forward. She knew it all. She knew everything about the guy.
I would imagine so. It was really no secret. Like I said, homosexuality was raging right before AIDS. Cocaine was flying around. It was avant-garde stuff. So my opinion, wasn't trying very hard. Now remember, he compartmentalizes. So I think if he was on the campus of Punahou, he was keeping his cards close to his chest. But when he thought he was around people that couldn't affect him, because he knew we wouldn't be on, in the fall going to school with him.
Right.
Then, so she must have, but I will tell you I'm not saying that Barry's had only 3 boyfriends that have mysteriously been murdered. I only have found 3 of them. And then, and certainly Barry's had more than 3 boyfriends. He was never nearly that chaste. But if you want to talk about people who have mysteriously been murdered and they're unsolved crimes, and to this day the cases are still open, I have 3 of Barry's boyfriends' names, if you want me to share them with you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So one boyfriend, now these were all attendees of that Jeremiah Wright church in Chicago.
Yeah.
There was a formal, informal knowledge amongst the congregation that there was what they called the Down Low Club.
Down Low.
What the Down Low Club is that were men who wanted to appear to be straight, but wanted to still have the opportunity within a somewhat protected-like environment to hook up with other men. Now, one of the boyfriends that I have the most information on, his name is Donald Young. He was murdered December 23rd, 2007, in his apartment, of which there were no signs of forced entry. So it appears that Donald had opened the door
to somebody he knew.
Murdered him.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought a little striking was that he died of multiple gunshot wounds, basically to the base, in his chest, and so it didn't look like hitman. You know what I mean? Like, because you can actually survive those kinds of injuries sometimes. So, you'd think if it wasn't a high class professional job. In other words, it just didn't appear, because you figure if the guy survives, you're going to, after you shoot him, you want to get out of there. If the guy survives, you're not even going to know if he winds up living until it's too late, and you give some description.
I understand.
So now we have the second victim, Nate Spencer.
Nate
like
Spencer.
It sounds.
Yep.
Nate Spencer. And then the third victim is Larry Bland. That's with a B.
Yeah, Larry Bland. Just so you know, Mia, I got to know Larry and was first to put Larry Sinclair on the radio. And Larry,
oh, I know.
Larry, we've done 30, 40 shows at least together, and we've covered this in great detail. He didn't get the connection. he didn't even hear about Donald Young's death until after the fact.
Right,
and
right.
He figured it all out.
Yeah, me too. Only after the death that I started coming across that information.
Right.
And actually much later. And God bless you both for your efforts, because the more we shine the light on this stuff, the more that people are going to become empowered to
Larry's courage and bravery were just simply extraordinary. They are.
Absolutely.
The other side, in the highest levels of government, tried to drive him, and did in fact drive him to the point where he attempted to commit suicide. And that's another story. I was involved with that too. He called me on the air just about this time one night, and I immediately emailed my support at the network on the board, and they played a rerun, and I talked to Larry. He could hardly speak. It was a very heartbreaking story, and I was able to keep him on the air, on the phone, for 37 minutes. I remember looking at the clock, and it turns out that the local police could not find him. He was in a hotel somewhere. He had made a video and uploaded it. No one could find him, and he had taken what he complained about was a timed release narcotic. He said, that's all I could find. If I had been able to get the other kind, I wouldn't be talking to you. But he called to thank me and say some very nice things, and I'd never been confronted with anything like this in my life. I kept him on the phone, and it turns out that the Secret Service got involved in the last 5 minutes and were able to successfully ping his cell phone while he was still talking to me, and got to him literally, apparently, with a couple of minutes to spare. That was it. And they got him out of there, pumped him, and stabilized him, although he would have been gone. That's how close it was. But that's what happens when the big boys begin to put the pressure on. And they pressured him, and they beat him up verbally and on the internet like nothing I've ever seen before. Sued him for $30 million, and so on. And well, you know the story. Okay.
I sure do. And I expect some significant flack myself, and here's what I got to say. Kiss my butt. Because I am not backing down off of this. I've not misrepresented anything, and I already made some heavy decisions before I ever took the step. I got my spiritual life in order. Mm-hmm. I took stock of, we all have an expiration date, okay? And I'm concerned about what type of life, can I say that I led. But, knowing what I know, I just felt sick to my stomach sitting there holding this information. And there's so many fellow Americans that are, they're hurting, they're frustrated, they're losing their homes, they're busted down to part-time from Obamacare, and we're getting steamrolled by these super freaks. And I just got to that point where nobody, and I don't care what you call these big boys, nobody is going to take my conviction from me. I don't fear it. You could put your best investigators on me, go over me with a fine-tooth comb, have at it. And as far as taking threats and whatever, like I say, kiss my butt. I'm not going to stop.
Well, I can tell you right now they're listening to this program right now. And I think they heard you loud and clear.
Good.
It would be wonderful if more would come forward.